My new wife told my 9-year-old twins, Santa doesn't visit kids whose dads don't appreciate their stepmom, because I'd refuse to skip my children's school play for her girls' night. Both kids froze. I packed our bags that night. Didn't tell her. I just accepted a position in another city. She found out 3 months later when she Googled my new address. The first time my new wife tried to discipline my children. She didn't do it with a rule or a consequence. She did it with a sentence designed to rot their trust from the inside. Santa doesn't visit kids whose dads don't appreciate their stepmom. That was all it took. My twins, Caleb and Chloe, both 9, stood in front of the fireplace with paper snowflakes in their hands and went completely still. Caleb's scissors hung open mid-cut. Chloe held a ribbon in the air like she'd forgotten what it was for. Their faces didn't twist into tears right away. It was worse than tears. It was confusion, fear. The kind that asks, did I do something wrong? Did my dad do something wrong? Is Christmas something adults can take away if they're angry? I had just come off a 24-hour shift at the station. Smoke still lived in my hoodie. My muscles still carried the weight of a call that had ended with a family we couldn't save. I was tired in a way that went beyond sleep. But exhaustion doesn't matter when your kids get hit. Vanessa stood with her arms crossed, chin lifted, like she'd said something clever, like she expected me to laugh and fall back into line. For a moment, all I could hear was the hum of the heater and the soft crackle of the electric candles Chloe loved because they felt like real Christmas without fire. The irony almost made me choke. Kids, I said carefully, forcing my voice into the calm tone I used on scene. Go upstairs and finish getting ready. We're leaving soon. Chloe's eyes flicked to Vanessa, then back to me. Caleb swallowed, his throat bobbing like he was holding something down. They didn't argue. They didn't ask questions. They just obeyed, too quickly, too quietly, like they'd already learned the safest way to move around her. That realization cut deeper than her words. When their footsteps faded up the stairs, Vanessa let out a short laugh, the kind meant to make me feel ridiculous. Oh, come on, Bernard. Don't start. It was a joke. I turned toward her slowly. Explain the joke. She blinked. What? What's funny about telling 2 children Santa won't visit them because you're mad at me? Her smile tightened. You're being dramatic. They need to learn respect. They're 9, I said. And I'm your wife, she snapped, like that word should end the conversation. The word wife sounded wrong in her mouth in that moment, not because it wasn't true, but because she used it like a badge and a weapon. Like marrying me gave her authority over whatever mattered most to me. I stared at her and felt something settle, cold and final, the way ash settles after a fire dies. This wasn't an argument about a girls' night. This was about power. It started earlier that afternoon when Vanessa breezed into the kitchen in heels and perfume, phone in hand, and announced her plans like she was reporting the weather. My reservation got moved up. We're going out early. You'll stay home with the twins. I was ironing Caleb's white shirt for the holiday school play. The cheap fabric smelled like hot steam, and Caleb's lines were taped to the fridge, highlighted and rewritten in my messy handwriting. The play starts at 6:30, I'd said. So, Vanessa replied, eyes still on her screen. So I'm going. She looked up then, genuinely surprised, like she'd never considered the possibility that my schedule didn't revolve around hers. Bernard, she said slowly, this reservation took 3 weeks to get. It's the holidays. Everywhere is booked. They've been practicing for a month, I said. They've been counting down the days. I'm not missing it. Vanessa's mouth twisted. School plays happen all the time. No, I said, pressing the iron down a little harder than necessary. They happen once, then they're gone. She sighed dramatically. You always do this. I try to plan something for us and your life just stops for them. I set the iron down. They're my children. And I'm your wife, she repeated, sharper this time. I'm supposed to matter too. You do matter, I said, but not more than them. Not in a way that asks me to abandon them. That's when I saw the shift in her eyes. Something small and mean tightening behind the makeup and charm. She didn't scream. She didn't slam doors. She just smiled that polished smile and said, fine, go to your play. I'd almost believed it ended there. I should have known better. Because Vanessa wasn't new to my life, in the sense that she didn't understand what she was walking into. She knew I was a widower. She knew I had twins. She knew my first wife's name, Marie. Marie wasn't a shadow I kept alive to torture Vanessa. She was the mother of my children, and she was gone in the most brutal way a family can lose. Someone, slowly, painfully, with enough time for you to hope and enough time for reality to crush you anyway. I didn't go searching for love after she died. I spent the first year trying to survive. At the station, I was Lieutenant Bernard Hale, the guy who kept his head when ceilings collapsed and alarms screamed. I could read a room full of smoke like it was a map. I could listen to a man's breathing and know whether he was about to panic. People trust firefighters because we're calm in chaos. At home, I wasn't calm. I was a father on fumes. People told me I was strong. What they meant was I didn't fall apart in front of them. But grief doesn't care about compliments. It shows up in quiet moments, when you pour milk into 3 bowls by habit, or when you find a strand of hair in a brush and realize it will never be replaced. Chloe slept with Marie's scarf under her pillow. Caleb asked blunt questions about heaven like he was trying to build a ladder out of logic. I learned to pack lunches and manage tantrums and iron costumes and pretend I wasn't terrified of failing them. Then Vanessa entered my life like a warm light. She was charismatic, pretty in a way that made rooms notice her, quick with jokes, good at turning attention into oxygen. She told me I deserved happiness. She said she admired my devotion as a father. She brought the twins little gifts, art kits, books, matching pajamas. She knelt to their level and asked questions like she really cared. I ignored the small red flags because loneliness makes you grateful for anything that feels like hope. The shift didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, like smoke seeping into a house through cracks you don't notice until everything smells wrong. Vanessa started sighing when I had to leave dinner early for a call. She rolled her eyes when Caleb needed help with homework. She pouted when Chloe got sick, and I canceled date night. She started calling them your kids instead of the twins, as if she needed to remind me they weren't hers. Once, when Chloe cried on Mother's Day at school because they'd made crafts for moms and her mom wasn't there, Vanessa shrugged and said, maybe we shouldn't keep encouraging the sad stuff. The way she said sad stuff, like grief was a hobby Chloe should stop indulging, made my stomach turn. But I swallowed it. I tried to be diplomatic. I told myself blended families were hard. I told myself Vanessa needed time. The twins adjusted faster than I did, because kids feel the truth in adults the way animals sense storms. Chloe became quieter around Vanessa. Not rude, never defiant, just careful. Caleb started asking permission before taking seconds at dinner, checking Vanessa's face first like he was measuring whether the air would stay safe. I noticed it. I hated it. I still didn't act fast enough. Until the Santa sentence. After the kids went upstairs that night, Vanessa followed me into the kitchen, anger simmering under her calm. You're really going to act like I abused them? She demanded. You didn't have to lay a hand on them, I said. You went straight for their beliefs. She threw up her hands. Oh my God. Santa? Really? We're doing this. Yes, I said. We're doing this. Her eyes narrowed. You know what? I'm sick of being second place. I'm sick of living in Marie's house. I felt the familiar twist in my chest at the sound of my dead wife's name, spoken like an accusation. This is not Marie's house, I said. This is our home, and these are my children. And I'm tired of being treated like an outsider, Vanessa snapped. You talk about your boundaries and your kids, and your healing like I'm supposed to just accept it. You're supposed to accept that I'm their father, I said. She laughed, sharp. And they're supposed to accept that I'm their stepmom. Respect goes both ways. Respect doesn't come from fear, I replied. That's when she said it, the line she'd been building toward for months, the resentment finally cracking open. She's dead, Bernard, Vanessa hissed. Marie is dead, and I'm alive. I'm here. Trying to be your wife while you act like your life ended with her. I stared at her. Don't. She didn't stop. Your kids worship her memory, and you encourage it. Photos everywhere. Stories, traditions. I'm sick. of competing with a ghost. My voice stayed low. Marie is not your competition. She's the mother of my children. Vanessa's face twisted, and for a moment, I saw something ugly and honest. Maybe if those kids weren't so needy, she said, spitting the word like it was a flaw, you'd have room for a real marriage. There it was. Not a misunderstanding, not a rough adjustment. A worldview that saw my children as obstacles. Something inside me stopped negotiating. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and headed for the stairs. Kids, I called, shoes on. Coats, we're going. Vanessa followed, voice rising. You can't just leave every time you don't like what I say. I'm not leaving, I said. We're going to the play. At the school auditorium, the twins performed like their lives depended on it. Caleb read his narrator lines with fierce concentration, his small voice steady. Chloe held her arms out in her star costume and smiled so brightly I could almost pretend the night hadn't cracked at home. Vanessa sat beside me, stiff, clapping lightly. She scrolled her phone. She didn't look at the twins with pride. She looked like someone forced to attend an event that wasn't about her. After the play, the hallway filled with hot chocolate and proud parents. Chloe ran to me first, arms flung around my waist. Caleb followed, trying to act too old to hug and failing. In the car, Chloe whispered, Dad? Yeah, sweetheart. Santa still comes even if grown-ups are mad, right? My throat tightened. Yes, I said. Santa comes for kids who are loved. Caleb's voice was small, even if someone says mean stuff. Especially then, I told him. When we got home, Vanessa went upstairs without a word. I made hot chocolate with too many marshmallows. I sat at the table with the twins and answered the questions they didn't know how to ask directly. Was Vanessa serious? No. Were they bad kids? Absolutely not. Was Christmas canceled? Not a chance. Then I tucked them into bed. Chloe held Marie's scarf under her chin. Caleb asked if we could leave the hallway light on. I said yes. After they fell asleep, I went downstairs and packed. Not angrily, not dramatically, like a man evacuating a structure. 2 duffel bags, 1 old red suitcase, clothes, chargers, medicine, school documents, birth certificates, Chloe's scarf, Caleb's dinosaur flashlight, the twins' stockings, and the folder on my desk, my job offer. That morning, I'd accepted a captain position in Ashford, 3 hours away. Better pay, steadier schedule, more leadership. I'd planned to surprise Vanessa after Christmas. I thought moving might be a fresh start for us. Now it became my exit. Vanessa came downstairs near midnight, saw the bags, and stopped. What is that? She asked, voice suddenly cautious. We're leaving, I said. Her laugh was brittle. Because of one argument? Because you targeted my children, I answered. It was a joke. It was a threat, I said. Her eyes flashed, anger, then fear. Not fear of losing me emotionally. Fear of losing control. You can't take them, she said. I looked at her. Watch me. We left before dawn. The twins were sleepy and confused. But they weren't panicking because I didn't let them. I told them the truth in words they could carry. We're going somewhere else for a while. I said, you're safe. That's what matters. We stayed at my friend Neil's guest house at first. Small, drafty, quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like air after being underwater. Vanessa flooded my phone with messages. Rage, tears, apologies, threats, then fake normality. You're overreacting. They misunderstood me. You're humiliating me. I'm sorry. Pick up cinnamon rolls for Saturday? I answered only about logistics. No emotion, no debate. Fire taught me a simple rule. You don't negotiate with something that keeps burning the vulnerable. The move to Ashford happened fast. School records transferred. Mail forwarded. The house sold. Lawyers involved. No dramatic announcement, no final speech. Just action. We got a small rental with a fenced yard and a den that became a reading nook. I pinned the twins' drawings on the fridge. Chloe chose pale yellow for her walls. Caleb chose dark blue, and then acted like he didn't care. At my new station, I stepped into the captain role and felt something settle. Responsibility was heavier, but life was steadier. I could be home more. I could breathe. The twins started to heal in ways that were almost invisible until they weren't. Chloe laughed more. Caleb stopped scanning faces before speaking. He dragged soccer balls outside and demanded I play goalie even when my legs felt like concrete. There were hard nights, too. Grief doesn't vanish because you change cities. One evening, Chloe asked softly, "Did we leave because of us?" I set down the scissors from her science poster. "No," I said. "We left because adults are supposed to keep kids safe, and I should have done it sooner." Caleb had his own version of pain. Once he kicked his backpack across the mudroom because a kid joked, "Stepmoms are supposed to be nice." Then he cried because he thought anger made him mean. I knelt in front of him. "Being angry isn't being cruel," I said. "You're allowed to feel. You're just not allowed to hurt people." I said it for him and for me. Christmas came in Ashford anyway. Cheap ornaments, lopsided cookies, a tree too small for the corner. My mother mailed knit hats for the twins. Neil drove up with gifts and enough food to feed an engine company. And Santa came. Chloe stopped at the fireplace Christmas morning, eyes wide, and whispered, "He came." I smiled over my coffee. "Looks like it." She ran to me and hugged my neck hard. "I knew you had emergency holiday communication." I had to close my eyes for a second. By February, the divorce paperwork was nearly done. Vanessa tried to paint me as unstable, vindictive. Impossible. The facts didn't support her. And the ugliest fact of all was this. Not once did she ask how the twins were doing. Then March arrived. She found out my new address the way strangers do. Google. A rainy Sunday. The twins were building a blanket fort. I was making grilled cheese. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered. There was a breath. Then Vanessa's voice, tight and shaking with fury. "How long were you planning to keep this from me?" "Keep what?" I asked. "Don't play dumb. I Googled you. Your new address came up in public records. You moved. You took a job in another city and never told me." "Yes," I said calmly. Silence, stunned, and offended. "You just left," she said. "I relocated with my children after leaving a marriage where my wife used them as leverage," I replied. Her voice climbed. "Do you know how humiliating this is? People are asking questions. It looks like you abandoned me." I glanced toward the den. Chloe was laughing as she tried to rescue stuffed animals from a pillow tower. Caleb wore a blanket like a cape and made siren noises. "From here," I said, "it looks like I protected them. You owe me a conversation." She snapped. "No," I said, a sharp inhale. "You always choose them." "Yes," I answered. Simple, final, like a door locking. She tried threats next. "You'll regret this." I thought about the last 3 months. My kids sleeping without fear, laughing without tension, asking for what they need without checking an adult's mood first. "No," I said. "I regret not leaving sooner." Then I hung up. She called again. I blocked the number. Spring came slowly. The twins adjusted so well, the school counselor told me that children often flourish once adults stop asking them to carry emotional chaos they didn't create. I carried that sentence like a weight and a warning. There's a special guilt that comes after rescue. The guilt that you didn't do it faster. I can't rewrite the moment my kids froze because an adult tried to weaponize Santa. I can't erase the months I spent negotiating peace with someone who measured love like a scoreboard. But I can build a home where that never happens again. One evening, after a shift, I found Chloe on the porch swing with Marie's scarf around her shoulders, even though it was warm. She asked, "Dad, do you ever feel bad for leaving people behind?" I sat beside her. "Sometimes," I admitted. "Even when they're mean?" "Sometimes, especially then," I said. "Because leaving means you stop hoping they'll become who you needed." She thought about that carefully. "Did you stop hoping?" she asked. I looked through the screen door where Caleb was lining up toy trucks in perfect rows. "Yes," I said. "And it was healthier than I expected." Chloe leaned her head against my arm. "Good." That one word felt like permission to breathe. I used to think strength was endurance. Staying, compromising, swallowing discomfort for the sake of peace. Now I know strength is often quieter. It's packing bags after your children fall asleep. It's choosing a school play over an adult tantrum. It's signing papers, changing cities, building new routines. It's refusing to teach your kids that love is conditional. I'm still a firefighter. Still Bernard. Still the man who runs toward burning buildings when other people run out. But now I understand something I missed in my own living room. Sometimes the fire isn't on the street. Sometimes it's inside your house, smiling, polished, and aiming at your children. And if you're a good father, you don't stand there debating it. You get your kids out, you lock the door behind you, and you build something safer, quietly, stubbornly, until your children can believe in Santa again without flinching.